Okay, so welcome back to another Clare Echo video special, and today we're delighted to be joined by two-time All-Ireland winner Fergal Hegarty, 2013 All-Ireland medallist Darach Honan, and Andrew Fahey, an All-Ireland intermediate hurling winner with County Clare and former Clare senior goalkeeper. Obviously, we're reflecting on a great win for Clare and looking ahead to the Waterford game and All-Ireland quarter-final, but we must start by congratulating Darach Honan on being one of the few pundits in Ireland to correctly predict a Clare win over Wexford. And as our regular viewers will know, Niall O'Connor has got the chap for incorrectly predicting Wexford to beat Clare. So, Darach, just to start with yourself, we were treated to another Tony Kelly masterclass, really. And was it a case on Saturday, do you think, that it was him who really brought his game to another level, or was there a collective improvement from Clare?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a huge win. It was absolutely brilliant to watch the win at the weekend, and it was a huge boost to the county. Tony, again, has just been outrageously good. I spotted him at 50-1 for hurler of the year last Wednesday, and I threw 20 quid on that, so I'm hoping that'll pay out. I was just thinking about the game he had. He probably scored 5 or 6 points there that would be career highlights for any other player, and he scored them all in the one game. I mean, the few in the first half were just outrageous from the angles, but I suppose the one that impressed me the most was when he collected in the second half into a driving wind, inside his own 50-metre line, and carried the ball for 60 yards before putting it over the bar. And Andrew Fahey was on his feet after trying to run after him. So he really did drag Clare through a few periods with his excellence. But I would say that Clare did improve significantly, and they will improve game on game. I'd expect another improvement this weekend. But definitely, when a new management comes in like that, it can take a couple of games to start to formulate the way you play. And I would say Clare definitely, as a unit, improved, as well as Tony's was excellence as well.
Yeah, and Fergal, obviously, from your experience coaching Ballier, you've seen Tony up close and personal, but some of those points, as Darach said, they're like just freestyle exhibition hurling, and it's just magic to see it in action.
Yeah, I think Tony's in the form of his life, and if you look back to the league in the spring, he was exceptional. Carried that through then to his form at Ballier during the summer, and he's taken, I suppose, his county. It's gone to a new level now. I suppose Tony was a victim of his own success going back to 2013. He came on the scene and burst onto the scene and had a really couple of good years, and then had a fantastic year with Ballier. And then in 2018 he scored 7, 8, 9 points for Ballier. And people think that you can go on and do that with the county, but obviously the county's at a different level. But having said that, Tony was criticised in some games, and he was scoring 3 and 4 points for Clare and playing really well. But people were judging him on his Ballier form. But now he's actually doing what he did for Ballier for Clare, scoring, what he scored already, 1-6 on Saturday, 8 points in play against Limerick, against top opposition. And I suppose I said it in 2016. I don't think Clare had ever produced a player as good as Tony Kelly, and some people disagreed with me at the time, but I think, I don't remember a player better than Tony Kelly. And even going back further, we've heard the stories of Jimmy Smith, etc. But if they were better than Tony Kelly, then there must have been some players, because he's an exceptional talent.
Andy, were you surprised, given the knowledge Davy Fitzgerald has of Tony Kelly, that he wasn't able to curb his influence? Obviously, as Fergal says, he is in exceptional form, but were you surprised that he was so dominant?
It's easier said than done to mark him when he's in that form. His movement, Darach touched on it there. He's something that people don't realise. He has unbelievable pace and a real good body swerve, and that was shown in that point he got after half time. Took the ball inside his own 21-yard line. It was like nearly an under 15 player playing at under 12. He was just too good for everyone else. Ran the length of the field, and still a difficult shot in the end. Had to reset his body and put it over the bar. It's very easy to say put 2 people on Tony Kelly and mark him, but the way he plays, he works off the breaks. He's the best man I've ever seen to get onto a break. He flashes onto it quicker. He reads the game exceptionally well. So it's difficult to mark him. Now, Waterford will probably, they'll crowd that area. But in fairness to Brian Lohan this year, he's not just playing him out around the middle of the field. He moved into the full forward line the last day after half time, and that's where he did a lot of his damage. So credit to Brian Lohan and his backroom team. I think unlike the last couple of years for Clare, he's been given a license now to go where he wants, and he's not being instructed what to do. That's what I found with Tony. Just let Tony do what Tony does, and you can see the benefit, and the fruits were there for everyone to see on Saturday.
Andy, to turn to yourself, one of the big talking points of Clare's first few games was maybe the puckouts and the puckout strategy. But as someone who stood in between the posts in the Inter-County Championship, what would your thoughts be on how Clare are going with their puckouts and the first few games of Eibhear Quilligan?
Yeah, look, I think when it comes to puckouts, I think they can be as complicated or as simplistic as you like, and whatever way a manager wants to play, all coaches have different styles. Some guys like it, be played short, some like being played long. I suppose, Brian, from my stint of time there, he would very much be believing that, you're pucking it long, you're winning the ball that end of the field. And, but I think probably the biggest thing off puckouts is you can have a pitch perfect puckout to a guy in the middle of the field. It's the second ball will always be the determined what actually comes of it, because if you don't win the break and you go long, the other team is on the attack. If you go short and you don't give a good ball into the forward, the other team is on the attack. So it's always going to be the second ball. And I think, pumping it long, driving it long has suited Clare. I think bringing Shane O'Donnell out and getting Shane under the puckouts he's incredible under the ball as well. Like people wouldn't see that, but his touch, when he can get the ball is over Shane's head, he can go up with his hand, but he's excellent to bring it down to the ground as well. So, driving the ball long is suiting this Clare team, and the other thing is that the weather conditions, each week that passes now, you can see today, like the rain that's falling down, if that comes down for the rest of the week, the underfoot conditions, the slitter, all of these things are going to play a part. At the end of the day, it's winter hurling. So you got to play what is put in front of you. So no two games are the same. So I don't see Brian differentiating from what has worked in the last couple of matches for them. Like, against Limerick, I think, some of the time it definitely did work, crashing into the likes of Hannon and Burns from the back. Clare got a bit of change off that. So I thought the one thing I just looked at just from the Munster final yesterday was when Waterford persistently went long for about a 7 or 8 minute period yesterday, they really, really did struggle to get it in past that line. So it's, you just got to be able to vary it, but they can be as complicated or as simplistic as you want them to be. So I think at this stage of the year, simple is good.
Darach, just moving to in front of Eibhear, obviously the Clare defence, do you think we've steadied the ship a small bit, like obviously conceded 3 goals against Laois and Eibhear picked up a second clean sheet of the championship at the weekend?
Yeah, well, I think the clean sheet was hugely important this week, especially the way the game went, where we opened up with a lead and then a goal could have changed momentum significantly and brought him back into the game. But the fact that Eibhear and the defence were able to keep a clean sheet was key. I think, in fairness, Páraic McMahon coming in made a big difference. I thought he was very good. Rory Hayes has really grown into his position as well. I think he's playing really well. And the defence is settling a bit. So that all contributed. Now, the other thing that contributed, I suppose, is the way Wexford play. They don't win ball close to goal with their forwards. They kind of negate their attacking strategy completely in favour of bringing bodies back to field and trying to win the middle third. So it is easier to keep Wexford goalless than it would be a Limerick or a Waterford, for instance.
And just mentioning Wexford, Darach, were you surprised that they've given 2 below par performances, 2 championship games in a row?
I suppose they're after dipping down an awful lot from where they are last year, but I suppose the other thing about it is they've become quite predictable in their tactics. Everyone knows exactly what to expect coming into Wexford, and basically they're going to carry the ball through the lines. If you can stop them from doing that and you can stop them from breaking those tackles, they're very limited in terms of their options after that. You saw in the game yesterday, the first 15 minutes, they were actually able to work the ball out of defence and the game was even enough. But I thought when Lohan got them in for the first water break and they made a distinct decision to push up on them, and I suppose not that they had to dispossess them, but they couldn't let them break the tackle. And once they stopped them doing that, Wexford were out of ideas, and I suppose really they fell to pieces after that.
And Fergal, obviously we're hearing today Davy Fitzgerald is going to go back for 2021, but do you think Wexford missed their chance really last year? Can you see them getting back to an All-Ireland semi-final?
I think it'll be difficult for them. I think Darach said it there. The way they play, I wouldn't be a fan of it at all. I think, it's highlighted in the second half. They were 10 or 11 points down. They persisted with a sweeper, playing the ball over and back, almost like a soccer back four at times. And, I think to win championships, you're going to have to score goals along the way, and the way they set up, to me, it's very predictable, and your threat of a goal. Okay, Lee Chin was a loss, but it made it easier for the Clare backs. And I did a piece with Seamus Hayes there during the week, and I predicted that if they do that, the Clare backs weren't playing well, but it played into their barrow this game, because if you have six backs and you're only on two forwards for most of the time, one for a lot of the time, you're not going to concede goals. So for me, yeah, Wexford had a very good opportunity last year against Tip. It slipped by, and unless they find a few players and rethink their tactics, I can't see them, particularly with Kilkenny have an emerging team again now, and Galway are always going to be there. Dublin aren't too far off the pace either if they get organised, so I think it'll be a struggle for Wexford.
It's an awful shame really from Wexford point of view, because when you looked at Conor McDonald when he came onto the scene, in at first he was capable of goals every day he went out, and he was not playing full forward, and he had corner forwards in beside him, and now he's reduced, I suppose, to a peripheral figure living off scraps out the field, where he's no different than any other player, where he was a special talent when he came on first. And you could have seen him develop into the way that, I suppose, someone like Aaron Gillan has developed for Limerick, where they're constantly a threat, whether the ball comes high or low, and have an eye for goal as well. So, Wexford did have the players, but they've been hamstrung really by the strategy and the tactics that they use.
Okay. And Andy, looking ahead to the weekend, and obviously we've Waterford, Liam Cahill doing a great job so far with Waterford. But what do you think we can expect from Waterford?
Yeah, look, for Waterford, the last 2 years has been very, very tough to have won no matches in the championship. Liam Cahill, look, Fergal probably know him maybe better, but he definitely manages the same way he plays. He's installed a massive work rate in some of these Waterford players, and I thought yesterday there was no containment in it. They actually legitimately went and had a cut at Limerick, and it wasn't all about just containing Limerick. So I think both teams will be extremely happy with the draw. I see it's down for Páraic McMahon as well. That's definitely, the surface looks unbelievable down there. The only thing is you can get a monsoon below on it, because the matches that have been played down there have been played in extremely difficult weather conditions. But I think they'll bring a huge physicality. I think the middle third of the field will be a battle zone as well. And look at the big question for Waterford is who's going to mark Tony Kelly. That's going to be the thing that they're going to be really, really honing in on this week. But as Fergal said, I think it's past the stage of where you can contain him. And it's the thing with Waterford is that they created a couple of chances yesterday for a goal maybe late on when it was really pushed him, but at the end of the day against Cork, when it was a shootout, only Caleb Lyons, a wing back, was the guy that got the goal. So the goal threat I don't think is too severe there either. It'll be just literally heart and passion on both sides, and looking forward to it. But if I was pushed for a winner, I would fancy Clare.
Okay. And Fergal, just turning to yourself there, obviously we saw 2017, 2018 Clare come into they found it difficult losing Munster final to regroup for the next game, but now we have Clare. They've a lot of momentum, winning 2 weekends in a row, and Waterford coming in one weekend after losing to Limerick. So is that a factor at all, you think?
Yeah, I think it is. If you look at Waterford, that Cork game now seems like a long time ago, where they had that good win. But 6 days, that game yesterday, very physical game. Limerick, huge men around the middle of the park there, and I'd say a lot of sore bodies in Waterford today, whereas Clare on a high now after unexpectedly beating Wexford, even beating Laois. It gives you a bit of momentum, and I don't think Waterford would have the same threat as a Galway perhaps, so I think it's a very good draw for Clare. Beat them last year down in Waterford. People might remember that, and Tony Kelly had an exceptional game there last year. He got 5 points in play, got man of the match. So, and that was a tight field as well. Waterford are physical. I think the pitch in Cork will suit Clare, and Mahoney is a big loss for Waterford, not alone for his frees, but from general play, he does a lot of work. If he's at centre forward, he drops deep, and he's a really good hurler. So I think Clare, I give Clare the nod for Sunday. They have a lot of players coming into form at the moment. Diarmuid Ryan came on, did very well. So Clare have a bench now that maybe people would have questioned had they had it early on in the year. John Conlon seems to be back doing contract training now, from what I'm hearing. So, if you get over Waterford, I know as you're looking down the track, but Clare, they're not too far off it. I think Limerick are a bit ahead of everyone else, but after that, I thought Galway might have been a bit ahead of everyone else, but after Saturday night, you couldn't really say that now. So I give Clare a really good chance on Saturday, and I'd be hoping and tipping that they would win.
Darach, supposedly they're calling you the oracle down in Clonlara after recent predictions, but is this the first game that Clare, like maybe the two lads have hinted at it, but is it the first game of the championship that Clare are actually heading in as the favourites?
Yeah, I want that added to my tagline under the column as well, actually, Páraic. No, well, I mean, the bookies have Waterford as favourites still. And I think Clare definitely have a huge chance, but I wouldn't underestimate Waterford at all. Like we're saying there, that Limerick are a good bit ahead of everyone, but Waterford really put it up to them. They were level heading into the last water break or not, or maybe a point in it. They'll be a totally different kettle of fish from Wexford, say. And I think they play a really nice brand of hurling, and Liam Cahill is doing an excellent job there. But I suppose there's a few things where Clare can make hay, and I thought Limerick did a really good job of putting Stephen O'Keefe under huge pressure for his puckouts, where he was forced to go long and their half-back line were eating him up, and if he went short, he was intercepted oftentimes by Hegarty twice, and I think Marcy got one as well. So the other thing I'd say is you can't let Tadhg de Burke have the influence that he had the last day, where he was collecting the ball, carrying it 20-30 yards, beating a man and creating overlap. And they tend to do that as well, where they carry the ball and try and create that overlap all the time. So if Clare can stop that, I think then they will have a good platform to get the victory.
Lads, can you see, obviously we haven't said David McInerney is going to be back in the mix for Saturday. Is there any other changes you'd be inclined to make, Fergal, to the Clare team?
Yeah, well, I thought Diarmuid Ryan did exceptionally well when he came on. I'd like to see Jack Brown featuring somewhere, possibly in the half-back line. I suppose for me, Aidan McCarthy would offer a very good ball-winning threat in the half-forward line. I suppose we in the club here have used him in the half-forward line. He's equally, I suppose, comfortable in the half-back line, but I think he'd give us a scoring threat up front as well. But I think, I suppose, in the event of Tony being held to, I suppose 4 or 5 points, which I think Waterford that'll be a success for Waterford if they can hold him to 4 or 5 points. We need to spread that scoring threat a bit more. Shane O'Donnell has had an exceptional year ball winning and laying the ball off, but we need more scorers. I suppose maybe David Reedy to contribute more to the scoring board. David Fitzgerald. We have guys that can do it, but I think that may be required on Saturday. But for me, I'd like to see Diarmuid Ryan get more game time. I thought he made a huge difference when he came on at half time.
And would you be putting him in half forward or kind of half back line, Fergal, for Diarmuid?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose he did very well in the half forward line. Again, he's one of these versatile players that can play anywhere. I suppose, look at the way that the game has gone now, half forward, midfield, half back line, there's not a whole lot of difference. But I think get your best men on the field. I always say that, whether, if you play them slightly out of position, that would always be my policy. Get the best 15 out on the field, and if that means juggling things up, then so be it. And for me, Jack Brown would certainly be an addition to that team, and Diarmuid Ryan as well.
Andy, is there any changes yourself that you'd be saying could really get Clare over the line?
You can't pick yourself now.
It's a game made for Darach Honan, Paddy. It's a game made for Darach Honan. I honestly think David Fitzgerald. I really do, and I think the next day, he's a powerful runner, and when he picks up possession, he is full throttle. So I think it's a game where David Fitz could actually come out with 3 or 4 points in play. If you think back to the league when he was playing at 11. Yeah, I think it was actually against Wexford and Wexford Park, terrible conditions as well. A lot of bodies around the middle. His ability to just power through is excellent. So I think he, as Fergal said, that'll be a definite help. He's probably seen it maybe himself more, obviously, with the club, but he could equally score 3 points from wing back. You know, he's an excellent attacking option, and I think he could be the real secret the next day, most definitely. Ball will be very much loose. You'll get a lot of chance to go and run, and I think, you know, who better than Fitzy to take off running, and he's very, very accurate as well. My one change.
Darach, just to go to yourself, is there any changes, or should we leave it as we are?
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be changes. I don't think they'll start same 15. Hopefully, if Jack's fit, I mean, he'd be an automatic selection for me in the half-back line. And if I'd also bring Dave McInerney back into the half-back line as well. I'd agree with Fergal there. I'd use Zayden further up the field. I think he'd be an option for a puckout and to chip in with a score as well. So I think, you know, if you had that more physical line of McInerney, Brown, and of Shayna, I think that would be a really good launch pad for Clare in the half-back line, and that's what I'd go with, and I'd probably push Aidan up further.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave it. So a confident enough verdict from Andy, Darach and Fergal. So thanks very much for the lads for joining us. We'll have more insight and analysis on Thursday's Clare Echo, which will of course have a column from Darach the Oracle Honan. So thanks very much to the three lads.